Last night I made a couple of these, or three of them I guess, round nuts in tri-knobs for a 1/4 inch bolt. They work pretty slick, and the reason I'm making them is this round nut, basically if you put this in a slot, you'll be able to move it, or an arc I guess too, and then the circle becomes one point of contact for registering work. And I'm going to cut all the inner through holes, and I'm going to do that with a helicoil, or helix cut I should say. Okay, so as long as my cut circle is inside of that white circle that you see there, and that's how it's on the outside line for the nut. That's inside right there. And I've got the depth set to 0.48 inches, which will cut all the way through this plywood. And the plywood I've got shimmed up on a couple of credit cards so that it won't cut into my aluminum holding jig that's underneath there. I hit the wrong button here. I auto cut that when I wanted to leave a little bit of a tab. And the reason I do that is so that they don't fly around. I think I got away with it, I guess. I got a little bit of a tab there, but it did jump on me a little. So then I can just lift these out and I can cut that remaining part off right here with a little chisel, and then a little sanding will clean those right up. This is just some 150. Gets rid of most of the fuzzies. All right, so I've got a bolt and I'm just going to give it a little tap. I don't want to put it all the way in. Open up to my drill, little 150. And that gives you a nice finish. Anyway, I'm going to take and modify this jig here. It was supposed to just be a straight line rip jig, and what I'm going to do is put in probably 4 slots. All right, I got my stops set here for my width of my cut, or I should say the length. The width will be determined by moving this stop a little bit that way. The one thing that I wanted to show you here is that I don't often utilize this, but on my router lip is a center line here, and that's for the bit. It's a 1/4 inch bit, and so in order to get it 1 inch from the end, I just made 2 marks on the end of the board, 1 1/8 in from each edge, and then line it up with that mark. I mean, it's so easy to get you a much accurate result that way. So that's my stop this way. When I bring it up here, then those 2 lines line up for my forward stop. So now I've got that set to go. This is just an arbitrary place to put it. I could have measured and used this mark here for a center line. I suppose I could still do that, get it exactly where I want. But what I'll do is I'll start my cut, plunge it, make it, take it off, reverse it, and do both ends, and then come in here and do these 2 cuts. Good fit. That should work out just lovely. So you can see now I can slide this up and down just for width, and then lock it in nice and tight. Alright, locate my other 2 slots here. Alright, I've got the slots done, and 3 of my adjusters installed. I took the time to put sandpaper on the side that contacts this jig. I noticed that when I first tried to tighten them before, they would have a tendency to kind of walk away from the workpiece. So that's the reason for doing that. Let me get this one installed, and then I'll show you what I've got in mind here. So this is kind of a crazy piece of plywood. I could do this with just setting this on here and not having these stops, but I want to show you what this helps me do. So I'm going to draw a 90-degree line, or I could even just use my square here. Bring this over to perpendicular. I'm going to get it up higher. There we go. It's pretty close right there. So I'm going to loosen this one up. That's my bottom stop. Make sure that that's tight. Snug it up. I can see that this one's making contact. You can slide this one over, make contact. And the beauty of these slots is that you can see down through and see that button down there making contact. Okay. Square looks, well, it's a little bit off. This needs to go out a hair. Right there. Okay, that's touching. That's touching. This one's touching. I'm going to loosen this up to make sure I'm nice and flat against this bottom. Tighten that back up again. And now we're good. And square. So I can bring this up against my fence and pick a spot where I want to start ripping out. I'm going to come out here. And I can rip a nice clean straight edge off of here. And what this allows me to do with these stops is that I can push against this and have it push against the fence as well, and then I'll make my cut. So you can see how my workpiece is held by these 3 contact points. I really only need 2. I could have gotten away with just 2 there. And then this is my stop to hold it from sliding back this way. So now let's check this for square. You know what, that's really good for just trying it out for the first time. That's really good. Okay, I want to put a 1-inch taper from 0 to 1. I'll make a 1-inch mark down here. Let's see how we did. Okay, so what I had to do was offset this jig by 4 inches and 3 inches. So I've got my jig on its mark up here on top, and I'm just covering it on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is slide these over. I've already adjusted this taper part, so that's tight to the bottom. Move that over. Move that one over. I really don't, like I said, I don't need 3, but I've got them. I'm going to tighten this one up so it doesn't wiggle off. Now those are making contact, and now I know I'm set to make this cut. And all I need to do is bring it over, adjust my fence to 0. I got to come over just a hair. I don't have my micro adjuster hooked up. That looks like it'll be pretty good. And then we'll see if we can make this cut and end up right here at the 1-inch mark. I think what I want to do too is put my old handle on here. I've got that. That would be kind of nice to have right about right here or there. At any rate, let's make the rip. See how it turns out. now, we've got taper from 0 to 1. I can see basically unlimited possibilities for something like this, from straightening boards to tapering boards. I think it'll be pretty slick. And the beauty of it is that your workpiece is riding on your table saw top, so you don't lose that thickness like you do with other tapering jigs. You know, the capacity of your blade. Now the one thing I will say is, let's just say I was tapering or cutting a piece like a leg that was this thick. I can see that, especially if it would be narrower, these would be slid all the way over. I can picture that you'd have to have a couple of scrap blocks out here to keep this from wanting to fall over. But I don't see that as any big deal either. Those, like a couple pieces would be all you need. And then you could safely cut your tapered legs as well. So that's kind of a new take on a tapering jig and a straightening jig. Hope that maybe you could make use of that in your shop. You could make this pretty much any length you wanted. Well, I shouldn't say any length, but some, you know, within reason, to edge boards. I don't know if you'd get away with doing like a 8-foot piece or anything like that, but you could definitely. This one measures 3 feet, and I could see this being. You could make a 5-footer easy enough, or a 6-footer, and it would come in handy, I'm sure. Thanks for watching.